Welcome to another edition of Rise and Shine. Today we're going to talk about defunding the police. That's something that's been very hot topic in our community these days. They are communities of the United States of America, and many times it's going to affect the working class community than any other community in America. But before we get into the subject matter, I'm James Gordon.
I'm Henry Hasid.
And I'm Robert Battle Sr.
Stay tuned for this, for us to come back around this important messages, and we're going to jump into a prayer and then to our subject matter.
H&H Financial Services in Mobile has over 20 years experience in accounting, bookkeeping, appraisals, real estate, and year-round tax preparations. Give them a call today at 251-438-1620.
Can't work for COVID-19 reasons like a stay-at-home order, quarantined, seeking diagnosis for symptoms, caring for your children because their school or care provider is closed, or if you're caring for someone under quarantine. You may be eligible to take up to 2 weeks of paid sick leave and additional leave for childcare needs. Visit dol.gov/FFCRA or call 866-4-US-WAGE. A message from the U.S. Department of Labor.
I'm chiropractor Dr. James Gordon at 476 Pain. I've traveled recently. I've been poked, swabbed, wiped, steamed, temperatured more times than I can count. I'm happy to report I'm COVID-19 free. Now if you're hurting after a fall, or motorcycle, a big truck, or car smash, I'm waiting for you. Come see me at the Alabama Injury and Pain Clinic at 476 Pain. The choice is yours.
All right, well, welcome back to Rise and Shine. Here we're going to start this edition with a prayer. It's always good to pray. We like to pray at this time. With the name of God, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Thee alone do we serve, and thee alone do we beseech for aid. Show us the straight way, the way of those whom thou hast bestowed thy grace, those whose portion is not wrath, and who go not astray. Amen.
Amen. So, Brother Hasid, you get ready to start on that subject, man. I'll let you get going.
No, that's good. Our subject, as you said today, is defunding the police. And I think there's been a lot of misunderstanding about defunding the police. And of course, anytime you come up with a word or language or something, you're going to have people on both sides. Some people are going to mean good, and some people will take whatever you say out of context, even though they may know what you're talking about. And I think this word defunding has really been taken out of context by a lot of people.
So, Brother Battles, what are your thoughts when you think about defunding the police?
I think my thoughts about defunding the police is to try to institute something that could bring in some corrective action for change. Most people think when you talk about defunding the police, that means cut it out of existence. That's not what the objective is. The objective is in fact, as I came riding up here today, I heard about another shooting.
Yes, sir.
So it makes it devastating about the way that the public's perception of how the police react with the community. But the primary purpose of what they were talking about defunding the police was to try to get the police attention so that you could take some of those funds that were used for that militarism and all those big tanks and army and stuff like that, put that into the community so that the kids can see some residual. When I came up, Mayor Sam Jones had a community policing.
You were young when Mayor Sam Jones was mayor?
No, Sam was the same age. But he had community police, and those are one of the things I think when you talk about defunding.
Okay.
About having a correlation. You know, John Russo said the people get the kind of government that they deserve, and I think they deserve a better government than the way the police is reacting with the behavior of our constituency.
I'm going to let you have that, Russo, because I'm not sure who the author was of that statement. I've heard that people didn't get the type of the government they deserve. That means if you don't go vote, you get that type of government. But I want to say to you, both of you brothers, that I noticed, and I was adding up the numbers while I was on stage, we're about 200 years old between us, at least. Maybe getting closer to 300. But the what I want to say is that when we're together, and I hear you guys talk, and that's from an intellectual standpoint, from a thinking standpoint, you say, well, when they say defund the police, surely they don't mean this, surely they mean that. And I honestly think it's both ways. I think some people do actually mean defund who's doing the speaking. When you look at listen to some of the young Congress people, such as Cortez, then they were speaking as if they mean to zero out the budget. And then when you listen to some of the senior members, such as us 200-year-old folks up here, it seemed to mean, well, let's not militarize. Like you said, let's not give them the military surplus equipment, or let's not, let's take a little of their money and put into social services. So I think we are speaking two different languages, even though we're saying the same thing. I would say that looking at a budget and making sure that we have a kinder, gentler police presence, and having these shootings that seem to be more frequently and more, it seems like there could have been a different way of handling it, but second guessing from the day later is always easier than being in the heat of the battle. But I don't all I see that when I see confrontation with the police, and when we have a situation, someone once said that the police at that time, when you're out in the public and interacting with a police officer, depending on how you react, that officer could be the jury, judge, and executioner. If you act in a way to be compliant, most of the time he's at least the judge of your action, and then you get the chance to go in front of a judge at a later date to express yourself. But if you act in such a way where it allows him to escalate or her to escalate the situation, you may not have the opportunity to go in front of a judge at a later date. So I think our actions, not all the time, if you get the wrong officer, the actions doesn't matter. But if you get the right officer, our actions can make a difference.
Well, you know, Doc, what you said, and I agree with what Mr. Battle said too, when he talked about community type of policing. I think a better word than defunding would have been, and if you look up that word defunding, you'll come into reforming. I think there's always reform mean to do improvements. Hopefully that's what the reform would be. Yes, we do understand, especially African American, our experience with the police department has been less than what's desirable. And we know a lot of African Americans get killed each year. And other races get killed also, so we're not trying to take away from another race, but this seemed to be a big issue in our community. Now, Mr. Ballows was talking about community policing, which I think we need more community type. And the reason I say that is because I was speaking at an event there, and I was saying before, the police is a policeman, he's a human being. This is usually somebody that grew up in Mobile or around.
Same community.
Yes, we have to begin to respect each other as human beings. If I respect you first as a human being, then whether you're a police or you're a sergeant in the military, you know, there's a certain respect that we will give each other. I respect you, but you also have to respect me. I don't think respect is just a one-sided situation. And it seems to be when it comes to the African American community that our experience with the police is seen to be more criminal. We are said to be guilty before we prove ourselves innocent. And a lot of times out there in the field, you don't get a chance to prove yourself innocent. And then sometime in trying to do it, you end up less than what you desire.
I think always in the field, I don't think you never get street justice when you're dealing with the police.
You don't get street justice. But look at, let's take the perception of what our community is looking at. When we look at the national government, and we look around the world and we start seeing citizens around the world fighting for their freedom and for what they really believe in certain countries where there are dictators or fascists who are suppressing the people from expressing what their thoughts are. America has always been the leaders here.
Amen.
We have still are. We'll do no show with that one. But,
I'm gonna tell you. I get you to travel with me sometime, Brother Ballard. I can't get you to leave the country.
I know you just came off the road, but really though, when you look at how people look, when you see the militarization of the police department, when you see the national government, not to call anybody a name, who personification is somebody go-getter. And it says, see, fear is the greatest arbiter that changes anybody's behavior. If I fear you, then I'm not going to react accordingly. But when they're talking about defunding the police, they're talking about teaching police the tactics so that they can know when to de-escalate. Let me give you an example. I went to one of my schools one day, and one of my principals in a heated argument with one of the parents. I asked the principal, would she step in her office, and then I talked to the parent. The parent wanted to go in the classroom because a child had called her because someone had hit her. And so I explained to the parent, who I knew from childhood, I said, let me ask you this. What do you think it would be if you go into that classroom, somebody that's your child, then you hurt the other child, then the principal's going to be in trouble, then we're going to be in trouble. But at the same time, when you talk about, I said, so after I got her calm, I talked to the principal. I said, you could have handled that a little better. I said, you could have de-escalated that by merely telling her, I said, well, ma'am, why don't you step into my office?
Amen.
So you cutting the crowd out of it, and you cutting out the ability for everybody to show off. And so she suggested that, and then she did it, and it worked.
Well, Brother Balance, I think you hit a pertinent part. When the police officer is the authority in the street when he's trying to correct a criminal act, if you would, or a dispute. And if they they many times, their actions many times could de-escalate a situation or allow it to escalate. And you got to know that if I'm dealing with an 80-year-old person, it may happen this way. If I'm dealing with an 18-year-old person, it may happen that way. And you got to almost know the lifestyles of the people you're dealing with to know how they perceive authority. So that would help to know how to address the people, and as far as how to approach a situation. With that thought, I know we're going to expound on that. Let's go to a commercial break, and you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back with these important messages.
Princess Creative Productions can provide affordable and professional video services for small to mid-sized businesses. Our in-studio virtual set shoots start as low as $200. Let our expert get to work on your next video project. Call 251-421-4490 to book your next shoot.
Can't work for COVID-19 reasons like a stay-at-home order, quarantined, seeking diagnosis for symptoms, caring for your children because their school or care provider is closed, or if you're caring for someone under quarantine. You may be eligible to take up to 2 weeks of paid sick leave and additional leave for childcare needs. Visit dol.gov/FFCRA or call 866-4-US-WAGE. A message from the U.S. Department of Labor.
Welcome back. We're talking about defunding the police, and Brother Ballard brought a few things over the break, so I had to get the camera going real fast so we didn't miss these important points. But Brother Ballard, you were speaking about the some of the points you're making. Go ahead and...
Well, what's happening today, Dr. Gordon and my colleagues, is that it's not only the police. It does not matter what color the policeman is. It's what the symbolism of what the police stands for. Because I have run into more impotent African-American policemen than I have Caucasian. So it ain't the race of the thing, and then it is. Because it's the perception of how we relate to each other. If I think of you, my son Chuck broke down on him last week on University Boulevard. I graduated in first class from South Alabama, but the little African-American police who come along, what's y'all wrong? I said, we called the record. Well, you better get him out of here in 30 minutes. I'm going to be back and tow him.
This is on the campus?
No, this is in the street.
On the street, okay, okay.
So what I'm saying is, it's an attitude thing. How do we train the police, regardless of race?
Well, let me say that I think you're right. The training, and that's another thing, as a citizens, we do need, it would be nice to know the training, because sometimes we assume that they don't have psychological evaluations, they don't have these different tests that would make things better, but some of them do. It's just sometimes you still get bad apples that slide through. And I want to I know Hasib ready to jump in, but I want to say that Chief Batiste and the Barber, I think you call it Public Safety Director.
That's right.
Barber has done a great job. Sheriff Cochran is doing a good job many times. He chimes in to try to help, but as far as training the forces, sometimes I think some are more political than others. I would say the sheriff is, but when it comes to the chief and Barber, they seem to try to stay politically neutral and try to make sure they're working with the community and make sure the officers are on the same board.
Stay politically neutral.
No, that's what I'm saying. The sheriff's not politically neutral, but I think he does a good job training his forces. You don't have any complaints, as many complaints in Mobile County of abuse. I will say that some of the older officers, be they white or black, seem to have a little bit more tense than some, and maybe they should consider retirement if the job has gotten that bad where it's so tense for you that you're upset at everybody. Even they run a traffic light, you feel like you got to give them a third degree instead of doing your job in a pleasant servant type manner.
Well, I just wanted to say, you know, when we say defunding, from what I have gathered from that, and I say is more reforming or improving. When we look at the police department nowadays, the police is everything. Not only we talk about them in the crime, but if you got a problem with a mentally ill person, a child, who do we call? The police. If you got a health emergency, who do you call? The police. And when we talk about defunding, we're saying, hey, we need to get experts in different areas of development that the police, that we look for them to solve. They can't be everything to everybody.
But here's the problem, Brother Hasib. MARC is a Mobile Association of Retarded Citizens. ARC used to be over the whole state of Alabama. They just closed their facilities in Mobile. And that's one of the problems. It seemed like their voice, the voice of the mentally ill, be it the slower learner or the development, slower, or the ones who have psychological concerns, seem to be the worst funded in our community. So when you defund, these CERCs and you defund these MARCs, then who's left to deal with it?
Well, for the example, we just recently in the news, the person that just got shot in the back about 7 times, the police officer. You know what that call was about? Domestic violence. The police is not skilled to do domestic violence. That's not their expertise.
But most of the calls are going to be about domestic violence.
Well, I'm just saying, they are skilled in that's what I'm saying. They do it all the time, and that's not their expertise. We need people who are experts to put some of that money in the area of experts, and there have been some states that have done it, and they have gotten tremendous results, good results from it.
I disagree. I think if you send a social worker out for domestic problems,
no,
have more
it ain't saying that the police can't go out, but he shouldn't be in the front line of a psychological person to deal with that. You need to get somebody who deal. Now he's there to keep the order. So sometimes I do understand in a domestic situation, he got to keep the order.
But I beg to differ. I would say that in the old days, bank robberies was more popular. But nowadays, domestic disturbances may be majority of the cause.
Well, that's exactly right. That's why we need people who are expert, even if they're in the police department, to deal with those situations.
More training.
Well, you're not going to have every police officer that's going to be efficient in dealing with domestic violence.
If that's 80% of your calls, then it seems like, if that's the majority of your calls, I say 80%, that's a bad number. I don't know what the numbers is. But I would say that when you think about our society and the disruptions that happen in society, it's usually domestic. If it's a noise disturbance, if it's somebody's fighting, it's usually domestic. You know, in political elections in the past, I think Pritchard had one in the past, and maybe there's a little bit of a squabble. That's probably considered domestic.
Yeah, but I'm saying, listen to this. we got areas of the police department that specialize in dealing with drugs.
Yes.
All police officers are not skilled to deal with drug addicts.
Yes, sir.
If we can do a narcotic division, why can't we do a domestic division?
Amen.
And that's what we're talking about. redistribute the funds and put some areas of specialization, and that is a serious situation in most communities, domestic violence. So why can't we put that? Other areas we know that we need people that the criminal area. Seems that that's where we train our police officers in.
You policymakers who are listening and tuned
that's
in,
what you got to get with.
we do have a homicide division. We got a drug division. We may have a stolen car division. And Brother Hasib is suggesting that we should have a domestic division.
Right, exactly. That deal with domestic violence and that specialize. I'm saying that when these
Brother Hasib said if they got a domestic division, the man shouldn't be getting shot 7 times in the back.
No, that goes back again to training and what the perception of the community.
Yeah.
You know, I have to go back to the point that fear. You know, everybody's on edge. The police is afraid. The public is afraid. So that you ever heard the old adage say people act like crabs in a bucket? Well, they say crabs in a bucket because they're always pulling each other down. But see, God didn't design them for the bucket. He designed them for the water. So if you get the people in the community with the elected officials going to really serve like you did, you go to serve, then they can alleviate some of these conditions that cause the types of behaviors that put us at risk for crime and domestic violence. Look here, I've been married 52 years, but at the same time, though, I don't beat my wife because I got them big balls. You know?
We wouldn't beat it anyway.
I would do it anyway.
Better grew up in the 60s. Things were different back then.
but the way you change behavior is you get the people to be involved. If you are married, Dr. Gordon, if you're married and you have a wife or significant other, you could give her a big house, a car, a Cadillac, and all the luxuries of life. But if you don't give her your time to make her feel, though, that she's part of the solution to the problem, then that's the way they look at the community. The community don't feel like that they are part of the solution to the problem when everybody coming in mad.
Right.
So what you're saying is we need more community policing.
We need not only the community policing, but usually the police is after the fact.
Yes. Well,
we don't have anybody before the facts, and usually the community knows what's going on in the community long time before the police. Even if it's a domestic violence, they know whether the neighbor there is got situation. You know, when we look in our neighborhood, oh, he did there, we know it's gonna be some drama tonight. So we know these.
What are some of the causes of domestic violence? I think,
and that's why we need experts, Robert, in these areas. No, I'm just saying. That's why we need experts in the police department there to look at these things, these causes.
When I got home and Robert's car was in the yard, there's gonna be a domestic squabble.
Not if he was doing your appraisal. But you know, a situation, there's many situations that cause, a lot of times, because the person wouldn't be together if they didn't have some feelings or some love for each other most of the time. Other things usually outside of that love is what start producing the domestic violence. Economics is a cause. Whereas things was going good, we was getting along good, but now I lost my job, now I feel inferior, and especially if she got a job that's better than mine, and you know, all of those things start taking place, and next thing you know, we got a problem in the family. One of the things that I did, the young lady that is working in the White House as chief of staff, even though Kellyanne never agreed with anything she said, I think she
that's just mean, brother.
But anyway, I admired her when she said, look here, I have to take a break from what I'm doing because my family is more important. Now, I already do that, and her husband did the same thing. Well, the husband did the same thing. I said that I thought that was good. That takes a whole lot.
To have a a marriage where one person is for one party and one person may be for another party, or different type people, and that, but you still get along.
Well, now I don't know about domestic violence.
You're bringing it together.
I don't know any domestic violence with them, as far as I know. But I said that to say that the important,
they're not 1960s.
family should be important, and other things that forces outside of that sometimes will cause those domestic violent type things to happen within the family.
Well, I think that the gist of it, and everybody need to make their final remarks here shortly, is that we're going to have a situation. I think defunding the police, when you listen to the representative of Cortez and the
Let's say reforming the police, improving the police.
I'm trying to do my little part, I see. Yeah. The older generation believe that defunding means reforming, but the younger generation, some of them feel that defunding means taking away all the money. And if you get the police to go away totally, you really wouldn't like America, I assure you, because the working class people will be the ones that suffer the most. But I would say that it's a good idea to evaluate the situation to see if the funds are being spent in the right areas, and to, if we feel that the domestic approach that the officers have to domestic situations is not strong enough, maybe we can try to put more funds in that area. But you guys, y'all pick each other. One of y'all close out, then the other close out, so we can wrap this beautiful subject matter up, please.
Well, I'd just like to conclude the program by saying that the only way that we're going to make a real critical difference is that we're going to have to come on one accord. But I don't think that's possible in an atmosphere like this. The atmosphere has been created where the national government and some of our elected officials have promoted fear and misunderstanding and cultural differences.
Yeah, Democrats and Republicans. I said Democrats and Republicans. I agree that both parties are equally guilty.
And independents too.
Yes, and independents. Yeah. Me being a Democrat, in independence, we definitely got to throw them under the bus as well.
Well, the thing I would say there, because we got enough blame to go around for everybody, yes. And that's what we've been blaming everybody on each other. That's the reason the problem don't get fixed. But I think if we seriously want to fix the problem, if we see if the community would take a new attitude about the law enforcers, and the law enforcers would take a new attitude about the community of helping one another, then we'll be in a better position.
Well, with that, I think that was the best closing with Brother Battles and Brother Hasib. You guys join us next week for another important subject matter with Rise and Shine.
H&H Financial Services in Mobile has over 20 years experience in accounting, bookkeeping, appraisals, real estate, and year-round tax preparations. Give them a call today at 251-438-1620.
I traveled recently. I've been poke, swab, wiped, and steamed in temperature more times than I can count. Heard of that car smash? Call 476-PAIN.